Welcome to Hutchings School Talegaon video class. In this video, we are going to learn lesson number 1, reproduction in plants. If you look at the plants around you, you will notice that some plants bear flowers and some do not. Flowers have bright colors and nice smell. Some plants bear fruits too. Some fruits like apples, orange and watermelons have seed inside them. But you must have seen that banana does not have seeds. Like animals, plants also grow in numbers by producing more of their own kind. Some plants reproduce by seeds. Some plants can also multiply without producing seeds. Let's see what is reproduction. Reproduction is the biological process by which new individual organism, that is offspring, are produced from their parents. Flowers are the reproductive organs of plants. They turn into fruits which have seeds inside them, so new plants grow from seeds. Reproduction is a fundamental feature of all known life. Each individual organism exists as the result of reproduction. And next one, we are going to learn about parts of flowers. Let's learn some parts of the flower and process of pollination. What is pollination? The transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is called pollination. For example, hibiscus.
In the flower, stamen is the male reproductive part, while carpel is the female reproductive part.
Let's learn the parts of the flower
Some flowers
and the
contain
pollination
both male and
through this
female
animation video.
reproductive parts. Such flowers are called bisexual flowers. For example, pea, China rose, etc. On the other hand, some flowers possess either the male or the female reproductive parts. Such flowers are called unisexual flowers. For example, corn, cucumber, etc. Now let us know about the different parts that make up a stamen and a carpel. A stamen is made of two main parts, anther and filament. The anther produces pollen grains. It is the pollen grain that contains the male gametes. A carpel, on the other hand, is made up of three parts. The terminal part is called the stigma. The middle elongated part is the style, and the swollen bottom part is the ovary. Inside the ovary, ovules are present. It is the ovule that has the female gamete called the egg cell. For sexual reproduction to take place, a male gamete is to be fused with the female gamete, thereby forming a zygote. Now for that, the male gametes have to reach the female gametes. For this, first a pollen grain carrying the male gametes is transferred from the stamen of a flower to the stigma of the same or the other flower. Such transfer of pollen grains is known as pollination. If the pollen grain of a flower lands on the stigma of the same flower, it is called self-pollination. But if the pollen grain of a flower lands on the stigma of another flower of the same or another plant of the same type, it is called cross-pollination. Pollination occurs with the help of different agents like wind, water, or animals. Once a pollen grain reaches the stigma of a suitable flower, a tube grows from the pollen grain. This tube travels through the style and reaches the ovary. The male gamete from the pollen travels in this tube and reaches to the female gamete present in the ovule of the ovary. After that, the male and the female gamete fuse together to form the zygote. This process of fusion of male and female gametes is called fertilization. The zygote formed after the fertilization then divides several times to form an embryo inside the ovule. The ovule develops a tough coat and changes to a seed. The ovary, on the other hand, ripens and forms a fruit around the seed. At this time, the other parts of the flower, like the sepals and petals, fall off. So, a seed present inside a fruit contains an embryo, which is actually a baby plant. Each time a seed is planted in soil and provided appropriate conditions, it grows into a seedling, which then present inside a fruit contains an embryo, which is actually a baby plant. Each time a seed is planted in soil and provided appropriate conditions, it grows into a seedling, which then plant. In the flower, stamen is the male reproductive.
Now let's learn what is seed and what are the main parts of seed. First, what is seed? A seed is a tiny life support package which can give rise to a new plants. And what are the main three parts of seeds? First one, seed coat. Second one, seed leaves or cotyledons. And third one, baby plant or embryo. First, what is the use of seed coat? It is the outer covering that protects the baby plant inside the seed. And second one, seed leaves or cotyledons. These cotyledons store the food for the baby plant. And next one, baby plant or embryo. The seed contains the embryo which develops into a plant. And next we are going to learn about germination. What is germination? Germination is the change of seed into a seedling. What is seedling? A baby plant. Germination is the change of seed into a seedling. If a seed gets the right amount of heat, air and water, it will produce a baby plant or a seedling.
When a seed is sown into moist soil, it begins to grow. This process is called germination. It occurs in the following steps. The seed coat splits. A tiny root grows downward and a shoot grows upward. This produces a seedling of a plant, which ultimately grows into a new plant. After some time, the plant bears flowers. The flowers produce fruits, and the fruits have seeds in them. All seeds can germinate when sown in moist soil under suitable conditions to produce new plants. By natural or man-made processes, these seeds are sown into the soil again, and that is how new plants are born. These seeds are sown into the soil again, and that is how new plants are born.
Now we are going to learn about seed dispersal. First of all, what is dispersal? Plants cannot move on their own. So, nature and animals help the seeds to travel from one place to another place. So, the process by which seeds are scattered away from the parent plant by wind, water, birds or insect is known as dispersal. So, first one, dispersal by wind. This picture shows the dandelion seed. This seed has light weight. So these plants have seeds that are very lightweight, so which also have hair and wings. These seeds are easily carried away by wind. from one place to another place.
Process by which seeds are dispersed to distant places by various agents is known as dispersal of seeds. Who are these agents? Seeds are transferred to various places by factors such as the wind, water, explosion, and animals. These agents make the process of dispersal of seeds easier. Let's now discuss about this process in detail. Our first agent of dispersal is the wind. Seeds of plants like dandelions have parachute-like or hair-like structures attached that are so light in weight that they easily get carried away by the wind. Thus, even the seeds get carried to distant places. What is the next agent we have in our list? It's water. Fruits which float, such as those of the lotus and coconut palm, are carried by water. You won't believe that coconuts can travel for thousands of kilometers across seas and oceans. Hard to believe, but they do. What is the next type of dispersal? Let me name it for you. It's called the dispersal by explosion. Did I just say explosion? You heard me right. Then what exactly explodes in a plant? In some cases, fruits or pods containing seeds burst on their own. The pods dry and split open suddenly with considerable force, which throws the seed at a distance. What are the examples of such type? We have plants like broom and peas which belong to this category. Now these were all the abiotic agents. Last in the list are the biotic agents which we need to have a look at. Biotic means living organisms. So are animals also responsible for dispersal of seeds? Yes, they are. Tell me one thing. What do we do with the seeds after eating juicy fruits? We generally throw away the seeds, right? Yes, that is how seeds from a plant growing in one area reach a completely different area. Plants are even benefited with the seed dispersal by animals. To understand this, let's take the simple example of birds. Birds also relish on the juicy fruits that have seeds within. In many cases, the seeds of the plants are too tough to germinate if planted directly into the soil. Now, if such a fruit is consumed by a bird, then the seed does not get digested in the bird's body and is thrown away directly. However, the hard seed cover softens a bit due to the chemical activity of the acids present in the bird's stomach. So as the seed passes through the bird's gut, it gets soft, and when it drops on the ground and gets rooted, it becomes easy for the seed to germinate. This is how animals can help in far and wide dispersal of seeds. Can you name some seeds which belong to this category? Blackberry, cherry, apple, and so many pulpy fruits have seeds that are dispersed by animals. Now tell me, why do we need this dispersal process? I mean, what will happen if the seeds from the parent plant get planted near it? Being near the parent plant would severely affect the growth and development of both the plants. And why so? The two will start competing for sunlight and water. That is the reason why seed dispersal is extremely useful for plants.
And next one we are going to learn about parts of flowers. Let's learn some parts of the flower and process of pollination. What is pollination? The transfer of pollen grains from the anther to the stigma is called pollination. For example, hibiscus. So first, by roots. Roots of carrot, sweet potato and turnip can grow into new plants. And by stems. Plants like rose, hibiscus and money plant can grow from the cutting of stem of the parent plant. Next one, by leaves. The leaves of some plants produce buds on their margins. These buds grow into new plants when leaves are placed in the moist soil. This picture shows the Bryophyllum plants. Next, we are going to learn about growing crops. Any plants that is grown in a large quantity to get food and other useful things is called a crops. Crops are mainly of three types. First one, food crops, and second one, oil producing crops, and third one, fiber crops. Example for food crops, wheat, rice, paddy, etc. And example for oil producing crops, sunflower, mustard, etc. And example for fiber crops, cotton, silk and jute. So to get a good crops, plants should be provided suitable condition. So here some points are there. First, we should select the suitable soil, and climate and season for a crop is necessary. And high yielding variety of seeds should be used. The right kind of fertilizers should be added to the soil. What is the use of the fertilizer? The fertilizer are used to make the soil more fertile. And fertilizers are two kinds. First one, organic and chemical fertilizers. Organic fertilizer are obtained from decaying plants, cow dung, etc. But these are all called manures. But the chemical fertilizers are those which are synthesized, for example, urea and nitrates. And the soil should be irrigated at the right time with the right amount of water. And different plants grow in different type of soil and different type of climates. So, crops that grow in winter like wheat and gram are called rabi crop. And the plant that grow in summer is called kharif crop. For example, jowar, maize, brinjal, pumpkin, etc. So next one we are going to learn about crop protection. So farmers work very hard to grow crops. So they need to follow some step to protect the crops. So first one, a strong fence should be made around the field to protect the crops from the stray animals. That means some walls like walls. Compound. Second one, pesticides. What is the use of pesticides? Pesticides is used to kill the insect. And third one, they have to use the fungicides. So these fungicides kill the tiny organism. This tiny organism can cause crop diseases. And the harvested crops should be stored properly to protect it from moisture. Thank you, students.